Now let's talk about that easy method to determine if gasoline was actually spraying into the engine when the injector is activated. First, follow the steps in the appropriate service manual to connect a fuel pressure gauge and for the proper fuel pressure specification. Correct fuel pressure is critical for proper engine operation on all fuel-injected vehicles of any brand, cars, motorcycles, whatever. All Yamaha and Star FI models are designed to operate at one specific fuel pressure at all engine speeds and loads. If the fuel pressure is correct, we can now easily determine if gas is actually spraying into the cylinder when the fuel injectors are energized by using the fuel pressure drop test. Make sure all fuel hoses are properly connected and go into the diagnostic mode and go to Diag code 36. Remember, this is the actuator function for the fuel injector, or the injector for cylinder number 1 on multi-cylinder models. The fuel pump will operate in Diag mode if the engine run switch is set to run and maintain the proper fuel pressure in the system. Now disconnect the fuel pump electrical lead. The fuel pressure should remain steady for at least a few minutes. If the pressure immediately starts to drop, then the check valve in the fuel pump is bad, or one of the fuel injectors is not closed, possibly sticking partially open due to fuel residue or some other contamination. If the fuel pressure does not remain steady, you cannot do the fuel pressure drop test. You'll need to find the cause of the fuel pressure leak and repair that first. If the fuel pressure does remain steady when we disconnect the fuel pump electrical lead, we can continue. Remember, when you're in Diag mode 36 and cycle the run switch from off to run, the ECU will activate the fuel injector 5 times. These 5 activations are very short in total duration, so not much fuel is sprayed into the engine. To better see if a fuel injector is flowing the proper amount of gas during operation, cycle the run-stop switch a total of 5 to 6 times. This will activate the injector a total of 25 to 30 times. We should now see a noticeable decrease on the fuel pressure gauge, indicating that gas is indeed spraying into the engine. A good rule of thumb is 1 to 2 psi of fuel pressure drop for every 25 to 30 activations of each fuel injector. On multi-cylinder machines, reconnect the fuel pump electrical lead to build the fuel pressure back up to the standard spec, then disconnect the electrical lead, set the Diag mode for the next cylinder, D37 for cylinder number 2 for example, and repeat the test. All cylinders should drop the same pressure. If one cylinder does not drop as much as the other cylinders, or the pressure does not drop at all, then that injector is clogged and not spraying fuel into the engine during operation, even though it's being activated properly by the electrical circuit. It could be the inlet filter is clogged, not allowing gas into the injector, or the outlet nozzle or holes are clogged, not allowing gas to spray into the engine. If the pressure drops more in one cylinder than the others, then that injector might be sticky due to fuel residue or some other contamination, and not closing or closing as fast as the other injectors, allowing the pressure to drop more in that cylinder than in the other cylinders. This cylinder will be getting more gasoline than it's supposed to during operation and running rich. Now we are going to be spraying more fuel into the engine than's normal for the fuel injector Diag test, so please do not cycle the run-stop switch more than 6 times unless you start the engine or at least spin it over several times between tests to clear out the excess gasoline.